Signature Bank Studios. America First with Sebastian Gorka. Weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The Secret Service and local law enforcement security plan and the execution of said plan. Certainly a huge topic of conversation given the failure to protect the former president and those in attendance at that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
I mean, have we not learned anything from the Highland Park 4th of July parade with shooters on the roof? And that was ignored. It's hard to process.
Yeah, it's obvious that you don't want anybody in a elevated position with a rifle 400 yards from the stage, 400 feet, I should say, 150 yards from the stage when a former president is speaking. And so how does this happen? Particularly when it was eyewitnesses that seemed to have noticed what law enforcement did. And here is Ben, who spoke to a local network affiliate in Pennsylvania about what he saw.
I was at the same point that probably the witness you were talking to earlier. I was up at the fence line, saw the guy move from roof to roof, told an officer that he was on the roof. The officer come looking. I went back to heard that there was somebody that could see the person, so I went back to where they were standing, saw the person, went back and told the officer again that if he goes back to that particular spot, he can see the person, figuring that he would go in radio. And when I turned around to go back to where I was is when the gunshots started, and then it was just chaos, and we all came running away, and that was that.
So, let me get this right. So you actually saw the man on top of the roof behind us?
Yes.
And you're saying people reported that to law enforcement, saying there's a man on the roof of the building?
Yes, there were two officers that were actively searching. You could tell they were searching and looking for somebody, and we just tried to help and tell them where the guy was. And they, at some point, somebody obviously found him, or the snipers found him, and that was the end of his decisions.
So AP subsequently reported yesterday that one of the local law enforcement officers that were part of the security team on Saturday got up on the roof and confronted the shooter. The shooter turned his rifle on him. He retreated, and that's when the shooter turned and opened fire because he knew he had been found out and he was on the clock. So all of the events surrounding how he got access to that roof, how they didn't see him, the rules of engagement.
Why didn't he shoot him?
Well, that's one. There's another issue, which is that one of the counter snipers apparently had him in his sights, too, for some time. And Susan Crabtree, reporting for RealClearPolitics.com, the Secret Service protocol requires that a counter sniper aware of a potential shooter to radio directly to Intelligence Division to respond and investigate. In this case, the investigation may have been cut short by the shooter firing his weapon, so the counter sniper then fired as quickly as possible in return. There also, the protocol is, according to this reporting, is that the counter snipers are not allowed to fire until the shooter does first, which makes no sense to me. But these are discussions that we're going to have with Stephen Bucci and James Fitzgerald, former FBI, later in the program. For more color on what happened on Saturday, we're pleased to be joined by two attendees to the Trump rally.
And former Chicagoans.
Okay, former Chicagoans, Butler, Pennsylvania. Trina Orlando and Jarmin Brooks, who I think I saw open for Big Country at the United Center. I mean, they sound like a country duo, don't they?
Brooks and Orlando, yeah.
Trina Orlando and Jarmin Brooks, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. So, jokes aside, tell us, whoever wants to go first, tell us what you witnessed on Saturday.
I could go first. Trina had left to go get some water because it was a very, very hot day. And people were passing out left and right. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, the security was constantly coming in to pull someone out from passing out. So
Oh,
Trina
that's
went to go get
interesting.
water. Yeah. So Trina went to go get water, and I was standing there, and I was between the shooter and Trump on the if you're facing the stage on the left-hand side, and God, I get emotional every time I talk about
It's okay.
this. You, you hear the shots go off, and I mean, I thought it was fireworks. I'm going to be completely honest. Maybe that's, maybe I'm just disgusted with myself for thinking it was fireworks, but I remember everybody, the Secret Service yelling at us, "Get down, get down!" And I jumped down to the ground, and there were some people crying, and I still thought it was fireworks. I thought it was someone trying to just cause chaos, right? Like I stopped the Trump rally, and I was with some. And the Trump. This is my third Trump rally, and I befriended some bikers. Like one of the things I love about a Trump rally is it doesn't matter what walk of life you are, you can bond with anybody. And I was bonding with bikers, guys in full like leather chaps, and something I would never you would never see me hanging out with. And I was talking with them, but when we all hit the ground, they were former military. Come to find out, and they're like, "No, that was gunfire. That was gunfire." So everybody was down on the ground. I was trying to text my wife, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And all the phone lines went down. I don't know if they were jamming or if it just was oversaturated lines. And then just the word came back, Trump was hit. And it was like communication through the crowd. It wasn't like we were getting it on our phones or there was a loud speaker. It was almost like relay. It was like playing a game of telephone. And then the Secret Service, after about 15 minutes, said, "Get out. Everybody get out. Leave, please. Leave." And we started I started walking back towards the back of the fairgrounds looking for my wife. And then as I'm walking, pictures are coming, of all the blood. Like there's so many people that were there in the stands that took their own personal pictures. And I got to see firsthand the carnage. The amount of blood was crazy.
Well, how close were you sitting to Corey, the firefighter and former Marine, excuse me?
I would say maybe 30 yards, 30, 40 yards away from him. But I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I was closer to the shooter.
Did you hear any of the these eyewitness accounts, these eyewitnesses that were saying, "We were telling police there's somebody on the roof, there's somebody on the roof"? Did you see any of that?
All right, I didn't hear that, but this is my wife, who's online here, has a better perspective of that when she was getting water, and I'll let her talk to that.
Okay, Trina, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was in the back of the crowd and sort of had, a view of what was going on from back there. And I had noticed that people were gathered outside of the secured area, for the rally. I was a news reporter for 15 years. I've covered a lot of, events involving the Secret Service. And it was very weird to me that these people were so close to the secured area without being inside of it. So I was kind of keeping an eye on what was going on over there because, here I am, kind of a fish in a barrel, inside this rally. It's 90 degrees, and these other people are hanging out, the cars are right there. They're kind of free out there. I was just kind of keeping an eye on what was going on. And a few minutes into the rally, I see these people start to run, all, away from the direction of where the stage was. And, I noticed it, people around me noticed it, and no one knew what was going on or what they were running from at the time. And so I was just kind of keeping an eye on what's going on. And then, shortly thereafter, the gunshots rang out. And in retrospect, it's clear to me that they had seen the gunman prior to the shots being fired.
Yep. And was there a stampede? I mean, I know everybody got down, and some people said they stayed down for 15 minutes. Others said 30 minutes. But I was surprised that nobody just got up and started running.
No.
I started running.
Okay.
No, our experiences were very different. I was in the very back of the crowd, and so I took off running to get out of the secured area as quickly as possible, and people around me started running as well. I think maybe the people farther to the front of the crowd who were packed in a little bit more couldn't get out, and so they were all hitting the ground and following instructions. But in the back, we all took off toward the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it was a stampede. It wasn't a stampede, but I mean, people were definitely running as you would. I think people were envisioning a mass shooting, not an assassination attempt. People, heard gunshots in a crowd. No one could see what was going on the stage from back where I was. And so I think people were more envisioning a mass shooting situation.
Like a Las Vegas type of situation?
I mean,
yes, exactly.
That's what was going through my head, the Las Vegas situation. But keep in mind, we didn't know if it was gunfire or fireworks. So when Trump raised his fist and the crowd went, like when
USA.
Mm-hmm. We didn't know he was shot.
Mm.
We thought that it was still possible fireworks. So when the crowd started saying USA, USA, we thought, the people around us, we thought the rally was going to continue. Like, we didn't think it was over. So we were all, after the Secret Service told us to get up, and we were like, oh, okay, the rally's going to start. And then they told us to leave, evacuate. We were like, oh, but no one really knew what was, and it was everybody was walking out and the information was coming in piecemeal. So there was no stampede. There was no chaotic exodus. It was people walking like, oh, the rally's done. Oh, man, it just started. It was like he was an hour late. We were only like 15 minutes in. So that was the tone of the crowd.
Although there's some people closer, too, just because you see it from the videos, I'm sure you saw now. I mean, there's some iconic responses, too, as he's being hustled to the waiting vehicle to be taken to the hospital. You see a guy he clearly must have been standing on his chair, and he's just giving the finger in the direction of wherever the shots came from. That was awesome. So some people had it sussed out that Trump had been hurt at least and so forth.
Right.
But I hear what you're saying.
If you're down on the ground and the Secret Service has you down on the ground, you can't see anything.
Yeah, no, right.
You don't see all those things. So I'm down. I was down on the ground. I joke about this. I can tell I'm getting old because I'm sore. My left knee is sore and my back is sore from hitting the ground so hard.
Was it that local law enforcement? That's really interesting. Talking about how many people were suffering from the heat and then police were involved because maybe that compromised the security perimeter. I don't know, but was it where you were? Was it local law enforcement or was it Secret Service or a combination of the two?
It was combination. It was combination, and my wife and I have talked about this, and we're like, well, maybe the security detail became, decentral. I mean, I'm sorry. They encountered so many people passing out. What people would wave, take their hats off and wave, hey, we got someone that passed out. So maybe the security detail got so used to oh, there's another person that passed out. All right, we got to go in, go get that person, distract them. So maybe when people were waving the arms that there's a shooter, which I hate to make excuses, but maybe the security detail was oh, that's another person that's passed out. But when in fact it was them waving their hands saying that there's a shooter.
Trina, you and I both worked at NBC5, and we both covered presidents and the Secret Service sweeps, where they make you get in at 5 a.m, and then they sweep the area, and then they let you back in. What was security like as just a layman, as a person just going in to watch the rally?
You walked through a security checkpoint. You weren't allowed to have any bags. I handed them. I had, a small clutch with me, a wristlet, just with some cash in it. They looked in that, and we walked through a metal detector, and that was it. So, I do think that there was security going in, right? They were wanting people if the metal detectors went off. There was security in place, but I was, again, like you mentioned, from covering those events, I was very surprised to see how close people were on the how close the unsecured area was. Essentially, these people in this unsecured area were seeing the same thing that I was.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're partying, and there was a lady on a horse with a Trump flag running.
Yeah,
right
well,
around.
the obvious issue is there should be no such thing as an unsecured elevated position and a small footprint like that. That's just indefensible. And I think
exactly,
and I think that's what everybody's trying to get to the bottom of. But Trina Orlando and Jarmin Brooks, they are former Chicagoans, now Pennsylvanians. They were at this rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. We appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you're safe. And they both joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
It is no coincidence that our present troubles parallel and are proportionate to the intervention and intrusion in our lives that result from unnecessary and excessive growth of government. It is time for us to realize that we're too great a nation to limit ourselves to small dreams. We're not, as some would have us believe, doomed to an inevitable decline. I do not believe in a fate that will fall on us no matter what we do. I do believe in a fate that will fall on us if we do nothing. So with all the creative energy at our command, let us begin an era of national renewal. Let us renew our determination, our courage, and our strength. And let us renew our faith and our hope.
This moment in American history has been